Hello YouTube, and welcome back to the Cassidy Car Cave. Today we're going to go a little bit different direction. I know you might think that since the CL600 is sitting here, I'm going to do a repair video, and normally whenever that car's around you'd be right. But today, like I said, is something different. I'm going to talk about the CL600, but we're also going to compare it to our 2017 Tesla Model S. Now you may say right off the bat, that's not fair, don't be crazy, you can't compare a 2003 and 2017. But I say you can, because really this is a Hooptie versus high-tech sort of comparison. We're going to talk about a V12 twin-turbo beast of a car, the Brawn of the Mercedes line in 2003, just turning gas into noise and power and torque. Everything that an internal combustion engine is all about, and quite frankly, everything that I loved about internal combustion engines. I owned this car right before we bought the Tesla. I had it maybe 2 or 3 years, but that's not coming for me. And really, this car is the reason I never thought I'd like a Tesla. 12 cylinders, twin turbos, just, oh man, that just massive engine that launches you and you can feel it and hear it. I never thought I would like the electric cars. And then I went for a test drive. A friend of mine wanted to go look at them, and really I just went along for the ride. I didn't even sign up to drive it that day. But we drove it, we were out in California, and it just blew my mind. So when my wife was ready for another car, she was trading in her Lexus. And I said, look, you ought to just at least try the Tesla. And we did, and obviously we loved it, we bought it. But so you have the Hooptie and the Brawn versus the brain and the high tech, right? All electric motors, complete Elon Muskness in all its glory, large 17-inch navigation screen. You know, basically you're driving around an iPad in the comfort of a living room because it's so quiet without the gears and noise and vibrations of all the analog parts of the Mercedes. But there are ways to take a look at these two cars and really hopefully come away appreciating both a little bit more, because there's room in our lives for both cars. I don't know how much room there is left for a Mercedes that's $100,000 versus a Tesla, but you know, these older Mercedes, I mean, the miles per dollars on these are just fantastic. You can't beat them. Now they're gonna break a little bit and you're gonna fix them, but the everyday driving experience between the two cars is gonna be interesting to look at. So what we're gonna talk about is kind of 4 or 5 different areas. The first of which will be just general performance. Now, you know me, I'm not going to give you quotes on horsepower and 0 to 60. You can look that up. You don't need to watch my YouTube video to see that. Somewhere on the internet, there's going to be 0 to 60 times on these cars. But I'm going to launch them down the warehouse here, and we're just going to kind of tell the difference between what could be done with a lot of power, big fat tires, and aggressive brawn, versus the smarts of a dual motor, all electric, traction controlled on every aspect Tesla. And it's going to be interesting to kind of see which does which. Now, I won't spoil it. Obviously the Tesla's going to be faster in a lot of areas, but it's just a unique way to go about it versus how it was done for so long. So performance we'll look at. We're going to take a look at fit and finish. All the Tesla haters out there, your ears should perk up, because Tesla, they're fantastic cars, but they haven't quite gotten that level of interior fit and finish yet as the cost of the car would suggest. So Mercedes, Lexus, my gosh, Jaguar, don't even talk about Bentley or some of those, they all do it better as far as fit and finish on the inside of a car that's over $100,000 than the Tesla does. So we'll take a look at the Mercedes, because in 2003, this was as good as interior fit and finish could get. This was a $130,000 car then. And so we'll take a look at that. We're gonna take a look at overall driving. So I'm gonna measure sort of the quietness and the ride comfort of the cars. We'll go for a little test drive, take a look at kind of how they compare to each other that way. And then we'll talk about maintenance. And we know how that's gonna turn out, right? Because you know, there's other videos on my channel about the Mercedes cars in this era, but it has to be covered, because that's something that Tesla is just so far ahead of everybody else in that you have to include it. So let's get going. Let's take a look. We'll start with a little bit of 0 to however many we can get between here and the end of the warehouse. We're gonna run them down this little strip here. I'll just set the camera out, maybe try to get a focus on the rear wheels on the Mercedes, and we'll do a couple of runs here and kind of see what it looks like. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is just a couple of launches. And what I'm really trying to show, I guess, in this is that, first of all, this car is fast and loud. But second of all, even with its big, fat, wide tires and all the effort they can make, traction control's on, it's not gonna be able to hold a grip on this concrete floor in the warehouse. There's dust all over it. You know, it's just, the technology just wasn't there yet to make these cars go. So, all right, ready, here we go. So it's trying to go, and it's just stopping. It's not letting the car go. So let's try again. I'm gonna turn off the traction control. You can see if I'm any kind of a driver, and I promise you I'm not. Especially not a performance driver. That's not my thing. You've probably picked up on that by now. So, okay, let's put it in drive. We don't wanna go through the wall. Traction control off, ready for a launch. Yeah, see, it's just not enough grip. Let's give the Tesla a try. All right, so here we are on the Tesla. We're gonna do basically the same run. Hopefully there's enough space here in the camera to pick up the difference, because as you're gonna see, the Teslas have such an incredible amount of traction control built into the electric engine that they just launch no matter what. So, all right, ready? Here we go. Did you see that, YouTube? I almost did it. Oh, that was funny. Okay, I'm gonna leave that in there. All right, YouTube, ready? Let's try it again. We're in drive and launch. Wow, yeah, the Tesla just takes off. There is a way to turn off the traction control on the Tesla. Let me try to do it, and we'll see what it does. So even with the traction control off, it does spin a little bit, but it still grips harder and faster than Mercedes. All right, so I'm not sure how much drama there was in that. We all knew the Tesla was gonna do better just in a straight line acceleration. But the point I was trying to make is not 0 to 60 or anything like that, just how far technology has come that you can launch a car now on a slippery, dirty, dusty warehouse floor, and it still takes off. Whereas all the traction control in the world on a internal combustion engine, there's just no way. It can't mate that much torque and power to traction and make the car go. So let's move on to the next thing. What we're gonna talk about next is kind of just the overall driving experience of the cars. I'm gonna try to hook up a sound level meter, and we'll go for a little cruise around and just take a look, listen and a look at the inside of both cars, and we'll try to get a gauge for sort of the comfort level. There's a nice set of railroad tracks outside of the warehouse. We'll bounce over those and just kind of see what we think of both cars. All right, let's go for a ride. All right, so we're in the Model S, and we're gonna use a little bit of technology, hopefully, to kind of help us empirically judge sort of the overall comfort and drive characteristics of the car. Now, again, it's not gonna be fair. The Tesla's gonna win any empirical battle between it and really just about any car. I'm gonna measure, hopefully, sound level inside the car, and I've got this goofy app that says it's gonna measure vibrations inside the car, so we'll just see what that shows. But it is interesting to compare the two, and there's something about the Mercedes that is gonna surprise you, or maybe not surprise you, but it may be surprised that I admit it, that would be on its side of the column. So let's take a look at this app I've got. I don't know whether any other way to do this than just to hold the camera like this so you can see this app. And I'm just gonna drive around a little bit, and we'll do the same thing when we take the Mercedes, and this may or may not be worthwhile. So this Model S is, like I said, it's a 2017 V85 dual motor. So this is not the super fast, you know, ludicrous mode Tesla. It was kind of the middle of the road one when we bought it that was out. Pretty good bump right there. Where we get a 4 for a second. There's a 5 point something. This does have the air suspension, so it may be better than a normal Tesla. So we're going to go over the railroad tracks here. Let's kind of see what that meter does and if it gives us anything useful. We compare it to the Mercedes. I thought I saw 6 there for a second, and that's 30. So just 30 miles an hour going down a city street. I'll take the Mercedes down this exact same street, and we'll see if there's anything useful that we can compare in those two numbers. But it looks like about a 3.5. Okay, I'm going to hold this one right above it like this because I think we're getting some glare. And when I quit yammering, it seems to be at about 45. So let's drive, and I'm going to try to shut up so that we don't blow it. But I'm going to go about 30 miles an hour, and we'll see what we do. All right, that's about 30. We're doing about 70 decibels at 30 miles an hour in the Tesla. Okay, we're going to merge onto a little Ellington Parkway here in Nashville. And I'm going to try to shut up once we hit 70 miles an hour. And we'll just go for a little cruise and kind of see what the decibel level is in this electric car. And here's 70. Looks like we're hanging right around 75 decibels. So that's pretty quiet. I don't know how it will empirically compare to the Mercedes, but I can tell you just in sitting in it, the Tesla is quite a bit quieter than just about anything I've ever driven. Just because of the fact there's no pistons banging around and there's no gears mashing in the transmission and differentials spinning, and oh my God, how many different bearings have we replaced in different cars over the years? You know, there's just, of course, there's bearings on the wheels in the Tesla, but there's no drive shaft bearing and center differential joints and all that kind of stuff. So quite a bit quieter in a Tesla. So we'll turn around up here. I'm going to go back, get the Mercedes, and we'll do the same loop with that. All right, so we're done with the Tesla. We're going to take the little Mercedes for a cruise now and kind of see how it compares empirically. And then I'm going to talk about kind of the overall driver feel of the cars and get an idea for them. So the first thing about this car, though, as far as sound goes, is I'm going to turn it back off because kind of what I'm going to talk about later, the 12-cylinder engine, oh my gosh, it just roars to life. It sounds so good. Everything about it is fun. I don't know if you can really hear it on this. I'm going to shut up. But you just get that boom of a 12-cylinder engine. They're all like that. I've had some BMWs that are the same way. It is part of a sound that's a good sound, right? Like some engines, some noise coming through the car is good. You want it, at least I do. So I'm going to try to drive without knocking that off there and see just how the vibration is in the Mercedes compared to the Tesla. This Mercedes has ABC suspension system, which is the bane of many Mercedes' existence, but when functioning, and this one is finally, see a different video for a story on that, it's actually a really nice system. So it does absorb bumps very well. It keeps the jars down and does a nice job. And I ruined a little bit because I put 20-inch tires on this car that are low profile. And when it came out, it had 17s. It still had some sidewall that would help with the vibration. So, all right, we're going to go down the same exact path. I'm going to go over these same railroad tracks, going reasonably the same speed. Looks like we're about a 4 maybe there. The railroad tracks. Hope that doesn't knock it off. Okay. Hit the same bumps. Same speed. few little washboard bumps coming up here. We're going 30 miles an hour. Here they are. Felt pretty smooth. Difference in ride is going to fall off now. Is that the Tesla, I would say, kind of sponges over the bumps. It sort of just, whereas the Mercedes gives you a little bit of a sporty feel still, but it takes away the jar. So you feel it, but it's not a jar. It's not a jam into your spine or something, but you do feel that you're going over and through the bumps. It's not like the Tesla smooths them out more, I think. Maybe the evidence will show that. All right, let's turn on the sound meter and we'll see how the cars compare that way. All right, so we're driving over to the sort of highway area where we'll run the car up to 70 miles an hour. But I did want to point out this CL600, in 2003, you could get the CL600, which was the 12-cylinder twin turbo, or you could get the AMG, which is the CL55, which was an 8-cylinder supercharged engine. And it had a different exhaust note. It was much more aggressive than the CL600. So our sound test, as far as it goes, like this doesn't have a aftermarket exhaust. Matter of fact, the exhaust on this car is wearing out. Different video on that. So it's really meant to be pretty quiet and really more of a cruiser than a fast, loud, aggressive sports car. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that this car should be pretty quiet. It's not meant to be a loud car that's going to give you that, Formula One feedback from a Ferrari or something. I do love me some Tubi exhaust. Okay, so we're on Ellington Parkway. We're going to do the sound portion of our test, getting up to just past 60, and we're at 70 miles an hour. Okay, so that was the same piece of interstate, same speed, same lane, the whole bit. And we'll see how that compares. Okay, so now we're going to do the sound portion of city driving, just driving the car through the same streets, the same route I took before. This is 30 miles an hour right here. Back up to 30. Okay, I don't know what the sound meter's going to say, but what I can tell for sure is that the Mercedes, you hear everything. You hear every bump, you hear every acceleration, deceleration, everything. It's very much a sound we're all very used to. The Tesla does have sounds to it, but it's so much different with the whine of the electric engine that's nowhere near as much as the growl of the 12-cylinder. So it's just a different kind of sound. It's what makes both cars special, really, is that the Tesla sounds the way it does. It is so quiet and so smooth in the way it delivers what it does. And then the Mercedes, there's something to be said, and definitely count me in as somebody who wants to hear the car and loves that growl and that note of feedback of octane being exploded and doing its thing inside of 12 massive cylinders. So, we'll talk about it in a little bit of a conclusion, but I think they both deliver very well what they do. I don't think this is so much of a who's going to win this. It's more of each car does things differently, but delivers an overall driving experience that's really awesome. There is a separator that we're going to talk about at the end.